There is a silent sadness that many women over 60 cannot quite name. One morning, you stand before the mirror, once the place that reflected the vibrant beauty of youth, and you suddenly notice something has changed. That face no longer shines as before. The dress you once loved, the lipstick that made your eyes sparkle, now make you look tired and pale. It's not because you age suddenly. It's not that you have lost your glow, but something deeper, a feeling that you are fading, no longer seen. You begin to ask yourself, have I become outdated? Or is it that I no longer fit myself? And then, reflexively, you reach for everything: expensive creams, advice about surgery, or cling to your 30s style, but none of it truly makes you feel alive again. Let me tell you this: the secret is not in surgery, nor in pretending to be young again. It lies in color. Yes, color is a silent but powerful friend that can completely transform how you feel about yourself. Just a small change in the palette you wear, and you will see your face brighten, your mood lift, and others' gazes soften. No needles, no pain. Just understanding that after 60, color is not just about looking good, it's part of your identity, the energy you send out into the world. So stay until the end of the video. I will share 8 beautiful colors that help you shine, feel confident, and full of life. But first, you need to understand one important thing. Why does color affect your appearance and emotions so strongly after 60? Why color matters after age 60? After 60, the body changes not only in health and energy, but also subtly in appearance. The skin begins to lose its natural rosy glow, becoming paler and more neutral. Hair turns white, gray, or silver, reducing the overall contrast on the face. Even the whites of the eyes soften, no longer as bright as before. These small changes cause colors that once made you shine to now make you look tired, pale, or older than your actual age. The issue is not with you, but with the colors you are choosing. Color is light, and light directly impacts how others see you and how you perceive yourself. The right color can gently reflect light onto your face, making your skin look more even, your eyes brighter, and your overall expression more vibrant. Conversely, the wrong color highlights wrinkles, dulls your complexion, makes your eyes appear lifeless, and drags down your mood. Color psychology shows that colors directly affect emotions, energy, and confidence. The right colors don't just make you look better, they help you feel truly alive and fully present. So, instead of blaming yourself for why your old clothes no longer suit you, let me guide you on a new journey where 8 beautiful colors await you, ready to help you shine, charm, and radiate the spirit of your middle years. And the first color might just surprise you. 8 colors that help middle-aged women shine brighter. Color 1. Soft turquoise. It's no coincidence that soft turquoise is called the color of renewal. Among all the colors that help middle-aged women glow, this is one of the gentlest yet most powerful shades, especially after 60, when the skin and hair undergo significant changes. Soft turquoise is neither the sharp emerald green nor the bright aqua. It's a subtle blend of blue and green, with a clarity like sunlight shining through seawater and a softness like the morning sky's clouds. Therefore, it doesn't overwhelm or tire the eyes, but creates a cool, calming, and approachable feeling. For middle-aged women, this color is magical in restoring natural radiance to the face. As the skin loses its natural pink tones and hair turns gray or white, choosing colors close to nature but still bright is crucial. Soft turquoise does this perfectly. It gently reflects light on the cheeks and neck, making the skin look more even, less dull, and softens the harshness of wrinkles, especially for those with cool or neutral skin tones. Soft turquoise not only brightens the eyes, but also makes silver hair look elegant and sophisticated like never before. Psychologically, soft turquoise is closely linked to balance, peace, and cleansing. It's said to soothe the mind, calm anxiety, and bring a gentle feeling from within. Wearing a soft turquoise blouse, scarf, or dress is not just about color. It's about wearing a feeling I'm ready to live gently, no longer needing to prove myself, yet still beautiful in my own way. Another major advantage of soft turquoise is its versatility. You don't need a full outfit in this color to enjoy its youthful effect. A soft turquoise scarf, pale blue gemstone earrings, or a blouse in this shade is enough to brighten your face, make your eyes sparkle, and warm your smile. Pair soft turquoise with neutral tones like cream white, ash gray, light beige, or camel to create an elegant and refined look. In summer, a soft turquoise silk dress with white sandals and a delicate bag will make you stand out without showing off. In winter, just a soft turquoise wool scarf over a neutral sweater can bring life to a gloomy day. Soft turquoise doesn't shout for attention or demand to be the brightest. It whispers to the world that you still shine in your own peaceful and unique way. And after 60, isn't that the most wonderful thing a color can offer? Color 2, True Red. Some colors don't need to shout to be noticed, and True Red is one of those. It's a shade both powerful and refined, carrying an unmistakable message: I'm still here, vibrant, full of life, and far from forgotten. After 60, many women shy away from red, fearing it's too bold, too youthful, or simply not for them. But the truth is, at this stage, True Red becomes your greatest ally. As your skin loses some color, your eyes soften, and your hair turns silver. True Red, neither leaning orange brick red nor purple wine red, has the power to illuminate your entire face. True Red is the color of confidence, a racing heartbeat, and a rose blooming in the coldest winter. It not only enhances your skin tone, but also makes your smile brighter. Your eyes sparkle and elevates your presence with a noble aura. Against silver or white hair, True Red creates a stunning contrast like a bold brushstroke on a minimalist canvas. It helps you stand out, not by trying to be younger, but by saying, I am who I am, whole, strong, and radiant through the years. Emotionally and psychologically, red symbolizes vitality, passion, courage, and strength. When you wear red, you're not just choosing a beautiful color, you're sending an unspoken message that you are living fully, have stories to share with the world, and deserve to shine. In fact, many women over 60 share that the first time they wore red again after years of avoiding it, they were amazed at themselves. A retired teacher said, I never thought I could still look so beautiful, just with a simple red blouse. But it wasn't just the look, it was a feeling awakened from within. That's why red not only makes you look confident, but also feel truly confident. You don't have to wear red head to toe to feel this power. A red shirt under a neutral beige jacket, a soft red silk scarf around your neck brushing your collarbone, red ballet flats, or even just a red lipstick that matches your skin tone, all can create a significant shift in how you perceive yourself. When wearing red, keep the rest of your outfit simple. Cream white, ash gray, navy, or camel are perfect companions that let red be the precious focal point. For makeup, a touch of matching blush, light mascara, and satin or semi-matte red lipstick will complete a harmonious, natural look. So if you haven't worn red in a while, maybe it's time to return. Not to prove anything to anyone, but to remind yourself that you deserve to shine at any age. And there's nothing wrong with letting red help you enter a room, no introduction needed, while all eyes naturally find you. Color 3, Rose Pink, Dusty Rose. Not every color needs to be dazzling to be captivating. Some shades are so gentle that you might hardly notice them. Yet within their softness lies a healing power, soothing and uplifting, much like the way powder pink and dusty rose touch the hearts of women over 60. Powder pink is not a childish or sentimental color, as many might think. When placed in the right context, mature skin, silver hair, eyes full of experience, powder pink becomes the color of gentle wisdom, of femininity distilled through the years. It doesn't shout, I'm young, but whispers, I love myself. I'm grateful for all I've been through. Dusty Rose is a more refined, mature version of powder pink. It's like the last light of sunset, carrying subtle gray hues, soft, elegant, and profound. Against skin that has lost some of its natural rosy glow, Dusty Rose gently restores softness, even tone, and brightness. It's neither flashy nor harsh, yet makes you appear as if you're being gently embraced by natural light. Why is this pink particularly suited for middle-aged women? Because it not only brightens the skin, but also softens the edges of aging wrinkles seem less harsh. The complexion looks less dull, eyes brighten, and the face appears filtered through a delicate mist effects that makeup alone cannot achieve. But color can. Emotionally, pink represents compassion, gentle love, and inner peace. When a woman wears powder pink or dusty rose, she sends a clear message: I no longer need to compete or seek attention. I exist with my own elegance and self-mastery. You can incorporate these pink shades in many contexts: a powder pink blouse paired with beige or ash gray pants for a morning walk, a simple dusty rose dress for afternoon tea when you want to look feminine yet refined. A silk scarf or dusty rose earrings near the face instantly elevate your tone. Even in makeup, a touch of blush or lipstick in dusty rose can transform your entire look. Paired with gentle eyes and a smile seasoned by life's storms, pink ceases to be a youthful color. It becomes the color of a woman who has learned to love herself fully. In fashion for middle-aged women, few colors express the full essence of gentleness, maturity, and self-forgiveness as powder pink and dusty rose do. They are the colors of a woman who no longer needs to try to impress, but simply be herself. And in that naturalness, her beauty shines. Color 4, navy blue. Not every color needs to be bright to make an impression. Some colors don't seek to grab attention, yet they make others turn their heads, such as the power of navy blue. For women over 60, navy is more than just a safe color. It symbolizes calmness, mature wisdom, and a beauty that requires no justification. For many decades, black was a popular choice, neat, fashionable, and easy to match. But after a certain age, black can become harsh. It dulls the complexion, emphasizes dark circles, and highlights every wrinkle on the face. That's when navy steps in as a more refined, gentler alternative that still retains strength. Navy maintains formality and seriousness without feeling heavy. It provides just enough contrast to enhance skin tones that have shifted, highlights silver or salt and pepper hair, and brings warmth and depth to the face. Unlike bright colors that can make an outfit seem less sophisticated, navy can elevate any attire from casual to formal without ever going out of style. In color psychology, navy represents trust, credibility, and inner depth. It's the color of the deep ocean, vast, calm, and powerful. When a woman wears navy, she doesn't need to say much to express her composure and status. She doesn't try to appear younger, but radiates an irresistible charm born of confidence and life experience. In terms of versatility, navy is a golden key in any wardrobe. A navy blazer pairs well with pleated skirts, dress pants, or even jeans, creating a polished look. A simple yet elegant navy dress suits meetings, small parties, or afternoon tea with friends. Silk scarves or accessories in navy add a subtle and sophisticated accent without being flashy. Navy also pairs effortlessly with favorite middle-aged hues like ivory, powder pink, camel, or soft turquoise. Navy and ivory create a luxurious feel. Navy with dusty rose evokes gentle femininity. Navy and camel express classic elegance and sophistication. Choosing navy doesn't mean overhauling your entire closet. Just a few key pieces, a well-fitting shirt, elegant trousers, or a knee-length midi dress can significantly elevate your presence. So, if you've thought navy is too serious or too neutral, it's time to reconsider. Navy doesn't overshadow you. It honors mature beauty with simplicity, strength, and class. Sometimes the deepest elegance comes from the quietest things. Color 5, ivory and cream. There is a quiet beauty that no other color can match: the beauty of ivory and soft cream. In the fashion world of women over 60, when bold colors start to become overpowering or counterproductive to the changed skin, ivory and cream gently arrive like a warm, tender breeze full of compassion. At this age, pure white often feels too harsh. It can make the skin look pale, highlight dark spots and wrinkles, and make the face appear stiff. But ivory and soft cream are different. They retain the purity of white but add a touch of warmth, a hint of honey, and a gentle golden glow enough to brighten the face without creating harsh contrasts. In the language of color, ivory represents refinement and wisdom that has been distilled, while cream embodies softness and calmness of a woman who has lived through many seasons. When wearing these two shades, a woman doesn't need to prove anything. Her presence itself is a statement of elegance and intelligence. Visually, ivory and cream create a soft light effect like placing a gentle filter over a camera lens. They brighten the skin around the neck, cheekbones, and collarbones, giving the impression of smoother, more even-toned skin and softening the gaze. Imagine a silk ivory blouse, light as a breath, paired with beige linen trousers or an A-line skirt. No elaborate details are needed because the color itself draws the eye. Or a soft cream dress, modest yet, when paired with a pearl necklace or pastel silk scarf, it becomes a timeless symbol of class. Ivory and cream are also perfect foundations to highlight other colors in your wardrobe. They pair beautifully with navy, turquoise, dusty rose, camel, or wine red. When combined with metallic accessories like pale gold or muted silver, they create an ensemble that is both elegant and rich in depth. Another special quality is that ivory and cream are not tied to any season. They appear lightly in summer on cotton or linen fabrics, and feel warm in autumn and winter when worn in cashmere, fine wool, or thick silk. Color psychology shows that soft whites like ivory and cream evoke feelings of safety, gentleness, stability, and sophistication. When a woman chooses to wear these shades, she doesn't need to make a loud impression. She invites others to come closer and listen. So, if you have ever looked in the mirror feeling washed out in an old pure white shirt, try switching to ivory. If bold colors feel overpowering, let soft cream become your new companion. Because sometimes the gentlest shades make us shine in a quiet yet captivating way. Color 6 Lavender. Soft purple lavender, a soft purple. Neither loud nor flashy, yet one of the most sophisticated and richly nuanced colors a middle-aged woman can choose. In the post-60 fashion world, where many bright colors start to feel out of sync with skin that has changed and a gaze that needs gentleness rather than sharpness, lavender emerges like a thin mist of purification light, yet deeply inspiring. What makes lavender special isn't its brightness, but its ability to create a unique emotional space. Soft purple not only softens the skin, but also soothes the soul like a gentle lavender-hued sunset that brings an unexpected calmness to the heart. For women aged 60 and above, when the skin tends to lose its natural rosy glow and hair sparkles with silver or platinum, lavender is the color that can revive the light on the face without needing heavy makeup. This light purple is neither too cool to make the face look pale, nor too warm to overwhelm the eyes. It's the perfect balance between femininity and wisdom, between dreaminess and tempered reality. Lavender also has a very gentle visual effect. It reflects soft light onto the face, helping to blur dark areas such as under eye circles, smile lines, or forehead creases, areas that often reveal signs of aging. It creates a uniform, smooth, and airy look on the skin, as if the light has been filtered through a fine silk veil. Symbolically, purple is the color of intellect, spirituality, creativity, and inner depth. When mixed with gray or white to become lavender, it gains additional meaning: healing, gentleness, and self-acceptance. A woman wearing lavender doesn't need to shout for attention. Her mere presence is enough to convey a soul that is experienced yet full of tenderness. Lavender is also very easy to incorporate into daily life. A soft purple blouse paired with white or mouse gray pants creates a calm elegance. A lavender silk scarf, casually draped around the neck, adds a gentle accent for a day out. Even a light cashmere lavender sweater combined with a beige A-line skirt creates a misty beauty that is deeply alluring. Especially, lavender enhances the beauty of silver, salt and pepper, or naturally gray hair, transforming hair from a sign of age into a refined highlight of the overall look. If you feel you have been bright enough all your life and now want to choose a serene, pure, yet no less captivating beauty, lavender is the perfect whisper. A color for a woman who has weathered many storms and is now stepping into the gentlest season of life, a season of inner peace. Color 7, emerald green. Emerald green, not a common color in the wardrobes of older women, but precisely for that reason, when it appears, it shines like a precious gem among the safe hues. After 60, when many women choose neutral tones to blend in, emerald green quietly but proudly declares, I am still living fully, still shining, and not afraid to be seen. Emerald green is a powerful color without being overpowering. It embodies luxury, vibrancy, and depth. As women enter a new phase of life, when skin may become paler and hair turns gray or silver, emerald green acts like a light remedy that revives every contour. It highlights the skin, brightens the eyes, and turns silver hair into a crown rather than a sign of aging. Unlike ordinary greens, emerald green has depth, hue, and ideal saturation to create a positive visual effect. It not only masks skin fatigue, but also makes the overall face radiant and full of life. Women with fair, neutral, or dark skin tones can all wear this color. Just choose the right fabric and cut, and emerald green will unleash its full power. More than a beautiful color, emerald green carries a unique message. In cultural and color psychology, it symbolizes rebirth, balance, and wealth, not only material but spiritual. When a woman wears emerald green, she says, I am not retreating. I am growing and renewing myself every day. It is a symbol of a woman who refuses to give up her light and is learning to shine in a new way, deeper, more confident, and steadier. In fashion, emerald green is often used in high-end, luxurious designs from evening gowns to blazers, scarves, or accessories. For women over 60, this color should be chosen in designs with minimalist yet sophisticated cuts. A silk emerald blouse paired with cream or mouse gray pants is ideal for formal meetings. An emerald scarf adds a perfect accent to neutral outfits, instantly brightening the face. Even just an emerald necklace or a pair of earrings can make heads turn, especially emerald pairs harmoniously with ivory, beige, gray, navy, soft pink, or lavender, creating palettes that are both harmonious and deeply layered. In makeup, berry-toned blush or soft plum lipstick complements the skin beautifully. Bronze or deep brown eyeshadow will enhance the eyes when paired with emerald clothing. Emerald green is not for those who want to fade away. It's for women who dare to assert themselves, who dare to stand out but in a calm, steady, and elegant way. If you're looking for a color that helps you feel revived, youthful yet regal, emerald green is an indispensable choice in your journey to renew yourself after 60. Color 8, camel, warm beige. Camel, the warm, earthy tone often overlooked for its quiet presence. And warm beige, these colors may not make others exclaim instantly, but that is their true power. They don't shout, don't dazzle, and don't compete for attention instead. They gently lead the eye toward a feeling of respect, elegance, and refined maturity. For women over 60, these are not just colors, they embody an attitude. After a long journey of living for others, dressing to fit in, or even to hide, many mature women tend to gravitate toward dark neutrals like black or deep gray. Yet, these shades can sometimes make the face look tired, the skin dull, and eyes more shadowed. In contrast, camel and warm beige do the opposite. They warm the face, soften features, and enhance the natural radiance of a mature woman. With its warm and subtle qualities, camel acts like a gentle light draped over skin marked by time. It's not harsh or glaring, but reflects light softly, creating a natural filter effect, smooth, even-toned, and with depth, especially suited to silver, salt and pepper, or naturally light hair. Camel and beige provide a gentle transition between hair and skin, harmonizing the overall look without needing heavy makeup. One reason camel wields such silent power is its versatility. It pairs effortlessly with other colors without overpowering them. A camel sweater with ivory trousers, or a warm beige dress paired with an olive scarf. Dusty rose or soft emerald green creates a distinctly Parisian elegance, sophisticated and tasteful. Moreover, camel and warm beige evoke a sense of stability, reliability, and emotional steadiness. They tell the world, I don't need to be flashy. My presence is enough. No other color expresses gentle inner strength and emotional balance as clearly as camel. This is the color of maturity, not aging, but a calm, dignified glow. For everyday fashion, consider a camel trench coat for cool days, a warm beige shift dress for a casual gathering, or simply a camel handbag or pair of shoes to elevate an outfit instantly. When styling camel, opt for makeup that's soft yet dimensional, earth-toned blush like dusty rose or peach, lips in subtle plum or beige pink shades, and eyeshadow in bronze or champagne tones to harmonize. Warm gold jewelry, pearls, or natural wood accessories perfectly complement this palette. Camel and warm beige are far from fading away, as some might mistakenly believe. Instead, they provide an ideal canvas for other colors to shine, and more importantly, allow the woman herself to glow through presence, experience, and beauty that no longer needs flashy details to command attention. If there is one color that truly speaks the heart of a woman over 60, it is camel. Gentle yet unmistakable. Minimalist yet profound. Wearing this tone, you don't just put on a color, you wear a mindset serene, deeply beautiful, and unapologetically confident. How to find your personal color match. After exploring 8 beautiful colors that help mature women glow, the next important question is, which color should I start with? Not everyone suits all colors, and every woman has her own unique palette that reflects her skin tone, hair, and aura. Understanding which colors enhance your natural beauty is the key to choosing outfits that not only look good, but also make you feel confident, vibrant, and true to yourself. Step 1. Identify your undertone. There are 3 main groups: warm, cool, and neutral. Here's a simple trick. Hold 2 fabric swatches, one pure white and one soft cream, close to your face in natural light. If pure white brightens you more, you may have a cool undertone. If the cream looks gentler, you might be warm-toned. If both look harmonious, you could be neutral, which means you're fortunate enough to wear a wide range of shades. Another way is to look at the veins on your wrist. If they appear blue or purple, you are likely cool-toned. If they look greenish or olive, you are warm-toned. If it's hard to tell, you might be neutral. Step 2. Try colors near your face. Pick a few from the list: soft turquoise, true red, dusty rose, navy blue, emerald green, and hold them close to your face in natural light. The color that makes your eyes brighter, your skin more even, and your lips rosier is your color. Conversely, if a color makes your skin look dull, eyes lifeless, or emphasizes wrinkles, it's one to avoid or wear away from your face. Step 3. Listen to genuine compliments. When someone says, "You look radiant today," it's often not just about your hairstyle or outfit style. It's the color you're wearing that's lighting up your face. Remember the colors that get you the most compliments. They clearly do their job. Finally, be open to change. Colors you loved in your 30s may no longer suit you at 60, and that's perfectly natural. As your skin changes, hair turns silver, and eyes soften, gentle, subtle, and warm tones will help you shine in a new way, a calm, confident, and deeper beauty than ever before. Now that you know how to identify the best colors for you, let's move on to the next part where elegant accessories will complete your look, guide the gaze, and elevate your entire outfit to a new level. Dear friend, if you've watched this far, I believe you're not only seeking the right colors, but are also on a journey to rediscover yourself a more beautiful, confident, and complete version in this wonderful stage of life. Because after 60, we no longer chase trends. We choose elegance over extravagance, comfort over constraint. But that doesn't mean we give up on beauty. On the contrary, it is in this phase, after gathering enough experience and going through many changes, that true beauty begins to speak gentle yet sharp, calm yet radiant. Colors seemingly just external choices hold a subtle power that touches the soul. They don't just brighten your skin or highlight silver hair, but quietly tell the world I am still here. I am still beautiful, and I live with all my confidence, wisdom, and love. If this video has touched you, if there was a moment you felt understood or inspired, I invite you to like, subscribe, and share this video with the wonderful women around you. Because we don't walk this journey alone, we need reminders, support, and to see that aging is not an end, but a moment to shine in our very own way. See you in the next videos where we will continue exploring not only fashion, but also the inner beauty, wisdom, and true freedom of a mature woman.